Welcome back, everyone, to Hearthstone Grandmasters for the Americas. Coming up next, we got Nalguidan up against Purple. Nalguidan just defeated Eddie, who has been, in Nalguidan's words, farming him lately in a lot of their matches. And it seems like Nalguidan finally got the win here, 3-1. Now he's going up against Purple, and once again, we're kind of reduced down to the same four classes that we're expecting to see most of this weekend. And I think if you're Purple, you watch the way Nalguidan's lineup is. It looks very similar down the line here. It might just have a pure mirror match.
Very closely related. The one thing is Nalguidan does have Murloc Paladin. Purple has the Highlander Paladin.
Okay.
Which we saw. I love that Highlander Paladin. Now, granted, it's not going to do that every game, but he kind of just beat him up. Beat up Gallon in that first game that we saw. I think the Murloc Paladin is just... I wonder how many times for the players that do have it, it gets played, since they obviously don't have they have the option to not play it, even if it's left up with the 4 decks, just because of the sheer number of hungry crabs that have made their way into every one of these decks. Purple has it in his Shaman, he has it in his Paladin, does not have it in his Druid, but does have it in his Hunter. So, I don't know. It just seems like a liability because one Hungry Crab in the early game against Murloc Paladin can seem like the end of the world because it effectively can 2, maybe sometimes 3 for 1 you with just a 1-mana card. So we may not see much Murloc Paladin today, and if we do, it's going to be very swingy depending on some of the early draws from these decks.
That's right. So let's see if there's other strategies to this lineup that we're not necessarily considering, but for now, it seems like everyone's set on leaving up these 4. And we might just see that throughout most of the weekend. I'm looking at some of the other lineups that we might be seeing throughout the weekend of Sand and Muzzy and PNC and Monsanto, and I hope that we can see some variation. It'd be really cool. And that's part of the idea of 10 class, although with the blind ban system, you don't get to see and respond to how your opponent's banned, so you have to take the safe.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There actually were instances of some players who were purposefully making some of their strong decks weaker,
right?
To try and incentivize players to leave them up.
Right.
But it didn't work out too well. I don't know. I don't think any player got bait. Took the wisp bait. There was players that put wisps in some of their, like Demon Hunter or even Priest, to try and say, hey, don't ban this because there's a wisp in it. But it's just not happening. I think players are realizing that it's just overall more consistent to leave these 4 classes up. And, this is the format now. It's Shaman, Paladin, Druid, Hunter format, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I think if you look at Demon Hunter deck list, it doesn't even need to have all 30 cards for it to still be on average more powerful than these Paladin Shaman decks. Still, though, we get to see Shaman played, and I mean, even if Shaman doesn't get played for the rest of Grandmasters, still had 1 week where it was the star of the show.
In fact, now that I think about it, Dan, Wisp actually might be good in Demon Hunter.
For the Outcast?
For the Outcast, and also for like Altruist. Like, it's just an easy to dump card that can activate your strong Outcast cards.
TJ, that might be one of the smarter things I think I've heard in a while. So
at least the smarter things that you've heard me say in a while.
Definitely so. Definitely so. You got some good ideas every now and then, TJ, and I think that is one of the better points I've heard about, like, putting Wisp. I thought people were just messing around and trolling, but perhaps it still functions just as good. I know that Language Hacker, for example, brought a Highlander mage with no Zephrys, which is like, well, if you're going to remove your no duplicate cards, why are you playing a Highlander version of it?
I mean, so that one is way more risky because I do think that mage is one of the classes you can leave up. We saw it a lot in Europe, to be fair. There was mage played in a few series earlier today in Europe. And 2, there's a big difference between moving one of the key cards of your deck or just removing a card that doesn't matter that much and adding a Wisp. There's a big difference between those 2 things, I feel. Zephyrus can is so flexible too. But he said, didn't he say that he still didn't even play Mage? Like Mage still wasn't left up.
Yeah, I think so.
well, the tough part about it also was, and this was another aspect of the format that was very challenging, was just the time between when the round starts and when you have to start playing. I think they moved it up a little bit, but at the beginning it was like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It may seem like a lot of time, but it's not a lot of time to look through 10 deck lists and determine which ones you want to ban based off of your strategy and what your opponent may ban. Because what happened is they ban 6 decks blind, and then the bans are revealed to them at the same time. So they don't have a chance to react. They just had to preemptively try to determine what their opponents would probably ban and base their lineup strategy based off that. So that's why you see a lot of the Hunger Crabs, because most players were planning on leaving up Murloc Paladin, which was widely regarded as the strongest Paladin archetype, or one of the strongest Paladin archetypes. And if that was the case, if they were going to leave up Paladin, they're just like, I'm just going to throw Hunger Crabs in my decks, because if they have to play Paladin, I'm going to make their lives miserable.
Oh, yeah. And that is usually how TJ ends most of his stories. Trying to make his opponent's lives as miserable as possible.
Yeah, I have been playing a good chunk of Galakron Priest lately, which I may regret saying these words, but it's incredibly fun.
For one of the people.
I don't know. It's just like you have. There's a lot of different options. Like Renew, it has become my favorite card. Job's done. All of a sudden.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. It just feels good. And Vulpir Scoundrel in that deck too. Kind of cool. Priest has a lot of very good spells now. Well, speaking of Zephyrus,
it's given me hope to see potentially other classes getting that priest treatment. But for now, let's go ahead and go into our first game, Highlander Hunter Mirror. Nalguidan is on the play and gets the Wild Growth. So does Purple. Does Purple go for the tempo option of Backstab here? Looks like he does.
Okay. I like this. Though, Nalguidan, with this Wild Growth, could get out a Dino Tamer brand quite early on in this game. The problem is, Purple maybe recognized that and said, I need to get ahead on tempo. There was also, what if Nalguidan picked Animal Companion and I go for Zephyrus Wild Growth and I get punished because now I'm behind on tempo. And so I think that the Wild Growth just is the best choice in that situation. But now this means that Nalguidan gets to play his more powerful stuff early on in the game, has Swarm of Locusts to follow up and clear essentially whatever Purple develops, and then gets to roll that into Dino Tamer Brand.
So then if you're Purple, do you acknowledge this Rottennest Drake? Looks like he will. He's going to trade into it. Now, I was kind of thinking of Zixer Prime, but I guess this is more lasting since it actually gives you the weapon development. And now you're done. He's got some pretty wide board development opportunities, but if he ends up playing Swarm of Locusts and nothing happens on the board, he doesn't have space to play Dino Tamer Brand, so it might be Fairy Dragon and Bone Wraith. And that Bone Wraith draw might incidentally just be one of the best draws Nalguidan has, despite the fact that he was looking for probably like a full 6-mana play here.
Well, I mean, it does fill up 6 mana. And only puts 1 less power in play than the Swarm of Locusts, but a good amount more health once you consider the reboard.
Right. And we can kind of see how the Faceless Corruptor in hand really influenced Purple's play last turn, kind of acknowledging that having that 1/1 to trade into, or rather to convert, is really important. All right, Nalguidan can start going for the throat. He can actually start winding this game down. Dino Tamer Brand on 7 after hitting the Wild Growth. And Purple doesn't have a way to answer it right now.
He can track into a Rottennest Drake. That'd be the goods. Scavenger's Ingenuity could hit Diving Griffin?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh!
There it is. That ends up clearing the board.
Yeah.
but he's still very far behind on tempo after Nalguidan gets to develop here.
Far behind on tempo, far behind on health. No tracking to look for answers, and
Would you go for the Siama, or would you go for the Swarm of Locust and the Hero Power?
Probably the Tiamat. Tiamat's the most likely to be resilient on the board, I think. Maybe not. It's definitely more power, because outside of Rot Nest Drake, like, how does purple kill this?
Looking for it.
And I think that's game.
That's it. Siamat ends the game with the pressure and the Divine Shield Wind Fury setup. Nalguidan wins the Highlander Hunter Mirror. Purple's, well, that stinks, but kind of expected Hunter to get a win. It's one of the highest win rate decks of this entire weekend so far. Highlander Hunter in general has been very powerful, and it's been working out great for Nalguidan, who last week, him and PNC had the lineups that advanced to the top 8, and once more, they're back.
Yeah, if you look at just Hunter's overall win rate in Americas, and this has probably gone up because it's taken wins earlier today in the first 2 matches that we've had, it's 62% win rate across 80-plus games, which is insane. The only other deck that even has a win rate higher than that is Mage, and that's only 6 games. That's only 4 to 6 games, and that's 67%. So you can pretty much rule that one out. It's not enough sample size to really be worthwhile. So Hunter seems to just be kind of taking wins in series essentially no matter what. But winning the mirror means that now you have the chance to like win one unfavorable matchup, and then you're on your way to a 3-0, right? So we'll see. But what the series seems to be coming down to, in not only in Americas but also in APAC and in Europe, is who can find wins in crucial matchups with the quote unquote weaker decks, right? With Shaman and Paladin, which it feels bad to call them weaker, but there's a reason why players didn't really bring those decks, except for Staz bringing that Shaman in week 1. And the win rate does reflect that. With a significant sample size of Shaman and Paladin games being played, they're still floating under 50%, I believe, in every region.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's tough to say because they're forced to play at least 3 of these 4 decks, and Purple can choose to queue up the Hunter again, or it can swap to another class. And I do think that Purple is going to stay on that Hunter as we go into Druid versus Hunter. These are some matchups that we would probably see anyways. I think that's kind of the more fun part of the 10-deck format, is that we have seen Druid versus Hunter in the previous weeks of Grandmasters. Just haven't really seen much of that Shaman and the Paladins.
And this matchup is surprisingly close. We had, like you mentioned, we've had some very close Hunter versus Druid games over the past few weeks, in both the Conquest Week 1 and Last Year Standing Week 2. Granted, in Week 1, Hunter decks were few and far between, and also they were mostly like the Dragon Hunter variants or some form of aggressive Hunter. Highlander Hunter didn't really come into prominence until last week. And Nalguidan was one of the players bringing Highlander Hunter last week and doing quite well with it. Went 5-2 in Swiss 2 weeks in a row, in Week 2 and Week 3. So 2 top 8s in a row. Ooh, nice.
Wow, this might be a very quick game.
Yeah, he's got decent follow-up too with Zixor, and then into Animal Companion, potentially the Guardian Og Merchant, just to put a little bit more stats on the board.
Oh yeah, make it difficult to deal with. 5-7, and that's hard for Druid to respond to when they're just passing. Looks like he's setting up for that Overgrowth.
Well, with Overgrowth, he does have the opportunity for like exotic mount seller stuff next turn with both Bog Beam and Iron Bar, but it'd have to be a very good mount seller outcome for him to be able to try and swing tempo back.
To my side.
Ooh, and a Huffer.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
And he's just protecting the Huffer, and Nalguidan, it doesn't hit here. He might be dead.
So he can only take off the Guardian Og Merchant. And he's dead. Well, he could put Ironbark in the way.
I supply only the
So he has to go Exotic Mount Seller, Fog Beam, and Ironbark, and hope that he gets... Okay, well, that's a taunt.
Job's done.
That's not that great.
He does have this Faceless Corruptor, though, here, which is nicely lined up for trades.
Yeah, Faceless Corruptor on the Huffer lets him get over the Exotic Mount Seller and still push the 5 with the Zixer.
Was that the right order? I think purple actually may have rushed that a little bit. Am I mistaken? So if he attacks the Huffer into the 6-11, it becomes a 6-7, then he transforms. Then he only has to trade one of the Faceless Corruptors into the Iron Fur Grizzly, and then it'll be a 4-1 left.
Yeah, no, you're right. He could have had a 4-1 up. Yeah.
I think that was uncharacteristically sloppy from purple.
Now, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't seem like it's mattering much.
It could have mattered in a different scenario.
If he wasn't, high rolling like this, it could have mattered, but not gonna really impact it. It looks like purple is just... Well, I guess I'll just take my game 2 victory. Hunter just gets the win. And that will do it. Purple looks so excited to be playing Hearthstone Grandmasters. On the edge of his seat, riveted by the non-stop thrilling action.
Yeah. I mean, I said that matchup is relatively close. And, I mean, that doesn't really show it, but the closeness comes when Glowflastorm can come out early because Hunter oftentimes doesn't have great ways to deal with like those huge boards, and all it takes is like a Saboteur at that point. You have to make the conscious decision of, hey, do I trade off these minions or do I try and race? That kind of thing. But those types of games obviously are not that close.
Yeah, so with Hunters getting their wins fast, then we start to get more into the nitty-gritty. It seems like both these players seem to adopt a level 1 strategy, which is try and corner the Paladin and Shaman and see who can get the wins. And it's been effective for them, the two of them. And overall, like it'll be interesting to see like if that ends up working for them or if it ends up being something they lose, because one of them will win and advance to the top 4. And there's other players who have adopted different kinds of strategies, but they have relatively similar strategies and they're both winning. So, I mean, can't really blame them. Seems like it's been very effective so far.
Yeah, it has. And now we're going to get down to probably the closer matchups. We're going to have a Shaman Mirror, and I believe this one is as close to a true mirror as you can get. They're both playing the Just Evolve Galakron variant, and there's a couple differences between the decks, but not super significant. Nalguidan does have a Waste Warden, as well as that Rocket Og Merchant that we talked about, whereas Purple has like a second Dread Corsair, and that's pretty much the differences there, and a second Mogu Flesh Shaper. So, seems like a little bit better of techs for the mirror matchup specifically, and maybe that's why you see Purple kind of having a slight edge in the Swiss rounds with a 6-1 score finishing in first over Nalguidan with the 5-2, and Purple gets the tempo early. How about a 3-3?
Yeah, I guess that's what you gotta do for tempo. And Purple's just gonna get really far ahead if this evolve goes well, which it was pretty bad for the immediate.
Is that the Druid one that reduces the cost of a minion in your hand?
Yeah, I think that's the Satyr, and the Satyr reduces a random minion in your hand by 5.
Yeah. Yeah, the imprisoned
mistaken.
Satyr. Yeah, no, you're correct. I mean,
There
that
is
could be
merit
good.
to try and mutate again here.
All right.
Yep, nothing too impressive by its own right. However, Nalguidan does have the ability to respond to this board now with Devoted Maniac. Alternatively, he could just, play with fire and go for his own clacker again. Try to evolve into the board. I think it's a little bit too risky.
Cool. Looking for something to help him, kind of have in some type of explosive turn. Which really the only thing that could kind of activate these cards in hand is the Bogspine Knuckles. And he will have to sort of think about the Imprisoned Satyr activation, which will happen before his next turn. We'll reduce the cost by 5. I don't think it really matters too much. Because the Dread Corsair and Hungry Crab would, both be minions that would cost 0. It's not a significant enough reduction. Dread Corsair maybe he's holding in case he draws the Knuckles next turn. Which he does not.
He does not, but he still has some opportunities to grab more board presence here. But this is looking like Purple's going to gas out very soon. Got all these ways to get free minions on the board. And if Nalguidan deals with it, this will be tricky.
Oh, Mogu Fleshaper is now active. Also, the Waste Warden! The Pirates!
Oh, Waste Warden actually does trigger on the Pirates. You're right.
That's about as much Waste Warden value you could ever hope for in this matchup. Unless you're killing... both players pass for a bunch of turns in a row and you're killing all the totems.
Yeah.
That's a good Waste Warden. 5 mana, deal 3 damage to 2 minions.
That's kind of amazing, right? If you
Yeah.
even just analyzing that kind of hero power in a vacuum, that's really ridiculous.
Yeah. So purple is now fully invoked.
As Nalguidan does draw his Corrupt Elementalist, which can put him very close, if not already at that fully invoked situation as well.
Yep, he has played the Shield of Galakron, Votomaniac, and Invocation, so he only needs 1 more. So I wonder if he gets the mana out of the way now for the Kronks. That way he just has the Galakron in hand.
Right.
Oh, he actually it's 2 to invoke, but that's just the Corrupt Elementalist, so he's got a curve lined up.
All right. Purple is effectively all in, holding the coin. Oh, finds the Blastmaster Boom. Blastmaster Boom is a reasonably sized minion. Nalguidan can freeze it through the Invocation of Frost and the Corrupt Elementalist.
Double the power, double the stars.
He should know that the last coin is the card, or last card is the coin, right?
Yes.
You're supposed to trade into this 7/7? I feel like you're not.
No, not with Galakron lined up next turn, right? You're gonna have the kind of free 8/8 trade. This Farsight has to be like exactly Galakron. Wow.
What?
Oh man.
That is nuts. And he saved the hero power. What a ridiculous turn. But it's not like purple's out of the woods just yet, though.
No, because Nalguidan responds with his own Galakrond and gets to clear off much of the board. It's just that one of these minions will survive. But he even has clears for it. Like, this is still a great position for Nalguidan, I think.
Yeah, if he actually can clear off everything. He just swings into the 7/7.
Oh, yeah, you know, he swings to the 7/7. You're right. Okay.
Oh, interesting. So he's just trying to overpower purple with overwhelming stats.
Yep.
I like this. I like this better.
Yeah, it opens up options for next turn if he finds another way to deal with the 8/6 on board. Oh, Sludge Slurper. He dodged all the hungry crabs.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I guess the only thing is that by playing an 8/1, you kind of understand that your 8/1's going to get answered by your opponent's hero power. What is happening? Both players just mirroring each other's draws.
Yeah, it's just Nalguidan has more cards to back up this Galakrond. And outside of
Right.
Farsight, which is basically just like a 1-for-1, right? It just replaces your draw for that turn when drawn off the top. There's no significant form of value generation or card draw in the deck. Like, Sludge Slurper is really the only thing, and you have to get like Ethereal Lackey or Draconic Lackey in order for it to even be worthwhile. Well, you can go for Evolve on the Raging Storm if you wanted to. Like, after trading.
You can also go for the Evolve on the Mogu Flesh Shaper as well. So you can play like Mogu Flesh Shaper, trade in, and then Evolve. Not with the Mogu Flesh Shaper, obviously. He wants to evolve that Flesh Shaper. Oh, jeez. Purple ain't getting past that, and that looks like Nalguidan has navigated his way to a Game 3 victory here, unless Purple can pull something out here.
Nah.
He's pretty dead.
Well, he can kill the Living Monument if he wanted to, but... Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's just lethal. Straight up. Just has, yeah, if he hero powers and trades in with the 4/5, then D1 goes to the face, then the Dog Spine would be lethal. This is
Slightly off.
not lethal now.
Yeah.
Kind of BM, but hey, it doesn't really matter, right? Because you're so far ahead. The macro lines is what's important.
Yeah, and
Not
Nalguidan
the
knows.
tightest play. Oh, Nalguidan just
He
realized,
knows.
whoops.
He's like, whatever.
It's okay.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Or is it? No, it's okay.
No, it's okay. That is the best draw in the deck, and still, it's not enough. Purple's thinking, but
Well, he can clear off most things.
well,
But
the
he
problem is
can't
the
clear
Living
off the
Monument.
8/8.
Yeah. Well, the 8/8 is the.
Return is nigh.
Yeah, that will do it. Purple concedes, and Nalguidan is up 2-1. One game away from going to the top 4 and making his case for Division A. I believe Nalguidan is one of those players on the cusp that can really cement his position or leave it up to other people to push him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, like we said earlier, there's so much variation with points earned from this week's top 8 because there were 4 players that were slated for Division B going into this week that made it into our top 8. That they could have a huge influx of points, which could push some of the players that were slated for Division A that didn't make top 8. And so it's kind of too crazy to calculate. At least on Sunday, we'll have like a more accurate picture of who needs what points to make it into Division A, who's locked. But right now, America's is kind of just too crazy to calculate.
Yeah, I think that we'll just go ahead and say when the results are done, we'll update you. But for now, it's a tight race. There's a few players who are like very likely to make it through. Bloodyface and Language Hacker being a couple of those. The players who are in the 8-point range going to this weekend, I believe, are the best positioned to go through. And then 7 is like likely, very likely, but not guaranteed. And 6 is like anything could happen. So still got to be very vigilant if you're players like Nalguidan. And for Purple, he's got some of the most to make up for because he didn't do well first couple of weeks in Swiss.
Yeah, didn't do well at all. So he's looking for like top 2, a win for this weekend, which he is well positioned to. I mean, if you just base it off his results so far, he went 6-1 in Swiss and won his first round in this group stage. So he's 7-1 in match scores. He's not losing very often. He is down 2-1 in this series, but then again, like we're getting down to sort of the weaker decks in the lineups. So it means anything can happen. But the mirror matchup was pretty big because now Nalguidan has a Shaman win on his side, which means he has options going into this last game. He can play either Paladin or Druid, depending on what he thinks is going to be better overall, and against the list. And I have to imagine it's Druid. There's just too many Hungry Crabs, I feel, for Paladin to be his Murloc Paladin to be a good choice. So probably on Druid for the rest of the series, I would guess.
Yeah, so we'll see if Nalguidan can close it out. The Shaman looked pretty strong and now has only the Druid and the Paladin. And Nalguidan is going to avoid the Paladin like the plague. And I think this would mean that Nalguidan hasn't played Paladin in any of the series today so far if he wins.
Yeah. Which is to be expected given how many Hungry Crabs were just in this group in general. We'll see. Nice curve for Purple to start things off, and he's going to need it.
Yeah. He's going to need it to try and beat a Druid deck that has things like the Kael'thas, but no ramp, no card draw. There is that card draw, just need to find the ramp now.
Sure, just kill it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at cards like Moonfire and I think like, wow, you know, this deck really does tend to struggle with getting the Kael'thas combos on. But the thing is that Nalguidan has overflow, so he's going to need to make room in the hand. Bees. Clutch. Killing that history buff.
Yeah. Purple's insane early game Paladin curve is just getting answered turn after turn.
Well, he has the Sky Claw now, and coming up on the Overgrowth turn here for Nalguidan, so in a way it's kind of like win-win for Purple. Like, Overgrowth is like scary, but at least he's not answering your board. If he answers your board, he's not playing Overgrowth.
Yeah. But Nalguidan's on a pick apart the board turn again. And still multiple turns away from getting the overflow, and there's still like the possibility of maybe even combining that with Kael'thas, since he has the 2 0-mana spells in hand. But it looks like he's just going to go for the coin overflow by itself for 7, and then maybe follow up with the Kael'thas to really cement his board position.
It's true. Alright, Amber Watcher for tempo, trying to get that 4-6. Okay. We're close to the Kael'thas pop-off. But this looked like a dead turn to me. Is he going to go for it now?
I was going to say he's still at 30. He technically could wait. Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like the implications of what this means, but he's gonna go for it. Innervate. And I mean, you can't really play anything else. We could use results-oriented thinking to also look at the next card drawn by Nalguidan, and judge whether or not that was the right call or not. But he did find Glowfly Swarm, which I think is the most important aspect of it, and you can now start to go wider. Underlight Angling Rod, just to kill off this Kael'thas and see if you can play a cheap Murloc. Does not find it. And now if you're Nalguidan, you just go for this Glowfly Swarm, or do you answer the 6/4 before doing so?
It's only a 5 Glowfly Swarm.
Right.
Winds of the south.
All of a sudden, it just feels like this constant curve from purple is starting to become hard to deal with for Nalguidan.
Yeah.
Kind of the reason why I wanted to play Glowfly Swarm the previous turn, but I think he was afraid of the prospect of getting answered by Consecration.
This is also not an insignificant amount of damage, right? It's 12 on board if he leaves this up, so he kind of has to go pretty soon, or else he risks just getting run over, especially if purple continues the curve, and he's going to play Tyrion next turn. Obviously Nalguidan doesn't know that, but there's a lot of big minions from the deck that, could be a threat. And this is a pretty weak exotic Mount Seller, all things considered, because he can't kill the Tiamat, and so his Mount Seller is going to get answered, very likely, unless he picks up taunts. Ha! Okay.
Well, I mean, Diving Griffin does help answer that a little bit, but I mean, purple looking to see what's behind the curtain. I don't think there's a Zephyrus lethal here, right? Oh, look at that! And Sir Finley Murgleton finds his way into the hand. That's funny. It's like now
that was actually close for lethal, right? The Blessed Champion would have been 24 plus the 3 from the swing, so 27. So he was 3 off.
Maybe if he swung first, saw that he had Sir Finley, and then, well, he knows that there's healing in the deck.
Yeah.
So no more Kael'thas and Mount Seller, so cards like Bog Beam and Ironbark aren't really useful for that purpose anymore. Nalguidan can use them freely. Incidentally, buffing the Porcupine, making Death Rattle even more impactful.
There's the Hungry Crab.
Sir Finley Hungry Crab. Wow.
The tempo.
What a duo.
And if you're going to play that, you have to make sure you play Hungry Crab first, because
Right.
Hungry Crab can't be played if a Murloc is on the board without killing the Murloc.
Oh, there it is! The Demon Hunter hero power upgraded.
Demon's Bite.
The Ballista
Nice.
Shot and Poison Daggers are very powerful as well, but looks like he goes for the cheaper attack, letting it be squeezed in every single turn.
He has a lot of weapon swings left, right? So obviously the Rogue hero power is not the greatest choice, and I take the one that impacts the board outside of the Ballista Shot.
Must move quickly.
And that's a decent outcome. He gets to hold on to all his minions.
And now Nalguidan finally gets to play his Glowfly Swarm and the Soul of the Forest. However, with Zephyrus in hand, is that potential lethal here for purple?
With Bloodlust, so 7, 8, 14, 10, not quite.
10, 14 plus 12 is 26, plus the hero power is 28. What if
Yeah.
we manipulate it? What if we play Choose Over Champion, hero power, and then Zephyrus?
That's Savage Roar.
Yeah. That's
14
6
plus 10, 24. No, that is it.
Yeah.
That's 30.
So Truce Over and you hero power, and then Zephyrus, and that should do it, right?
Yeah. And you have to make sure you don't attack, because you don't ban it for Bloodlust anymore, so it would have to be exactly Savage Roar. And I believe that's exactly 30.
Wow, Highlander Paladin. Nalguidan realizing that that is death. Would you believe it? Highlander Paladin with the Demon Hunter hero power that got upgraded. Gonna take game number 4, and now we're gonna go to game number 5 to determine who goes to the top 4.
These games have just been like overall more fun this week, it seems, because we're seeing obviously things that we don't get to see that often. Highlander Paladin with the Bloodlust for lethal and a Hungry Crab on board. And also I went to Porcupine, I didn't think it would be, but like that death rattle not killing off a minion ended up being pretty impactful because it gave him the little burst that he needed with the Savage Roar. Because that was a pretty big board. He had his own Savage Roar in hand. But now we come down to it. Shaman and Druid left for purple, and the Paladin Druid left for Nalguidan. Again, I just don't think that the Paladin can be played at the risk of Shaman coming out. And for purple, I think that he might have to play Shaman here because Nalguidan does have the Starfall in his Druid deck, which does give him a slight edge in the mirror.
It's true. I'm looking at the deck list a little bit closer as well. I think I would still go with Druid. And I think purple might do the same. But looks like instead we're getting Shaman from purple.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Pulling all of his faith in the elements. What do you think, Deej?
I like this. Druid is one of the matchups. Actually, it's the only matchup that Shaman has been beating consistently. And like I mentioned, the Starfall does make a difference in the mirror. Because you have like a free clear to Glowfly Swarm, you can follow up your own. We've seen it for the past 3 weeks in Druid mirror matchups in other regions. The Starfall tech hasn't made its way much into Americas. We had a lot less Druid last week, even though it seemed like we watched it a lot. Overall in the field, there was less. So I do like the decision to go with Shaman. You can snowball boards, and granted that the Shaman has a 61% win rate against Druid over 77 games. It's pretty high, but that's also like Totem Shaman mixed in, which I think has a better matchup because you can capitalize on early boards that don't get removed much better.
I hope you like my invention.
Yeah, I think the Shaman is underrated with what it can do in terms of pressuring the Druid. I think purple is kind of just pegging Nalguidan being predictable because he's like probably gonna play Druid, so I'm gonna try to see if I can like just maybe cheese a win, so to speak, by like having a really fast evolve board. Except it seems like he's playing a lot more honestly, and wild growth into overgrowth into overflow is kind of devastating because purple doesn't have. Oh, okay. I was saying purple doesn't have like the way to punish that, but now he kind of does.
He got the knuckles. Though Nalguidan can clear this entire board pretty much. With the overflow, he can clear off 2 of these minions. Wow.
Jeez. If he's given a turn to figure this all out, it's great. The Bog Beams obviously are important too because I think Nalguidan recognizes that he still can get punished, but this is still a pretty strong evolve opportunity for purple.
Yeah. It's going to be 2 3-drops and a 5-drop.
Right. And then next turn he gets to keep whatever he has on board and evolve that, plus the Corrupt Elementalist.
Blood and plunder.
This is very quickly coming to the climax of this series, TJ.
Okay.
Oh my
S5
goodness gracious. That is the draw.
My people are addicted.
And here we go. Purple is probably in for a rough turn.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah, this is fine. I was thinking you'd go for the Glowfly Swarm, but this leaves you mana in case you don't draw more 0 mana spells. This leaves you with the options. 13 cards left in deck. He only has the Iron Bark left. As far as 0 mana spells, oh, and one more Moonfire. With the Innovate, he also has Crystal Power to unlock it. So he goes Wrath plus Crystal Power into Bullfly Swarm. Alright.
Yeah, and there's no way for purple to be able to answer this. At least not easily. And that will do it. Purple just concedes. Nalguidan with the fist bump, and he is excited to go to the top 4. And that will wrap up the series. Nalguidan with his first top 4 of the first 3 weeks. And remember, he's fighting for those points. He really wants a chance to get to that top 4, so that way he can get Division A. And we've had a couple of times where we got to talk to Nalguidan. He talks about how much Grandmasters means to him. He, for a long time was kind of juggling Hearthstone as his side thing. Like he would be going to school and doing his major and really trying to study architecture. That was the thing he was focused on. But he competed for Hearthstone on the side. This is back when the HCT, the Hearthstone Championship Tour, was going on. And when Grandmasters came out, he said that he actually, for the first time, was willing to put school on hold to focus on Grandmasters, and he saw a noticeable improvement when he did. And Nalguidan has since kind of taken Grandmasters very seriously, not really taking it for granted. And I think that's a really refreshing attitude, because it does feel like sometimes for the other Grandmasters in general, especially in Season 1 of 2019, it seemed very lackadaisical, for lack of a better word. And I like the hustle that Nalguidan brings, and I know that he cares a ton. So it's great to see him succeed.
Yeah, I think the rude awakening of relegation in Season 2 really hit a lot of players hard, right? The players that maybe took it easier in Season 1 and had a poor finish and realized, wow, if there was relegation this season, I wouldn't be in Grandmasters anymore. And, some players had a lot of close friends that got relegated. No longer Grandmasters are trying to fight their way back into it, which is a very difficult task. A little bit easier this year. Not easier in the sense of you don't have to work as hard, but there's one extra spot. So it's like 33.3% or whatever more likely that you can get in, or 50% more likely, I guess, is better math. But yeah, now that there's more relegation spots, if you get placed in Division B, you're way more likely to be relegated than if you get placed in Division A. Those kinds of things weigh on players, and players that where Grandmasters is essentially their lifeblood. It's a big deal, and you tell Nalguidan very happy. A huge win for him to make it to top 4. That's an extra point at least, and a chance to fight on Sunday. Chance to kind of take it easy for the rest of the day, regroup, and come into that top 4 on Sunday refreshed and ready to earn some Swiss points, Dan.